and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for our Game Week 10 team selection video. Yes, we are in double-digit game weeks finally, and it's time to see what we can do with our moves ahead of a big fixture swing week. So guys, if you do enjoy this one, make sure you drop a like, make sure you're subscribed if you are not already. We're on the road to 200,000 subscribers, so make sure you double check. Let's have a look first of all at our Game Week 9 scores. Okay, so Game Week 9, it was a green arrow, up a decent amount of places, I guess, but it wasn't a very exciting week for me. I'm sure that you've seen a lot of people with higher scores. I'm sure a lot of you guys got higher scores in Game Week 9 as well, and I can basically put that down to the fact that my differentials didn't do well. All of my lowest owned players didn't perform, and that's Turner, Udogie, Diaby, and Soucek, the 4 players with the least amount of ownership. All of the players that did well for me are kind of players that a lot of people own anyway, and I think that's why I got a decent score, a solid score, a strong score, but nothing absolutely amazing. Now, it'll be interesting to see how this team plays out in upcoming game weeks, but I'm not regretting any of my decisions or anything like that. I think the transfers last week worked well because I took out Darwin for Watkins and I had to downgrade Ward-Prowse to Soucek in order to do that, and I've freed up some budget for future moves as well, which we're going to talk about shortly. But overall, look, it could have been better, but you can't really complain about a score like this. So another strong game week, another green arrow, and another push towards the top 100k, which is, of course, the first target of this season. So, yeah, let's see what we can do next. So, we've got one free transfer, we've got 0.8 in the bank, which is very, very nice indeed. Let's see what we can do with it. First of all, let's lay out our team, starting off in goal with Areola. Against Everton at home, it's a very decent fixture, and although West Ham haven't been able to keep too many clean sheets this season, it has to be said that they have had some really tough games, so I think things could improve as we get towards these easier fixtures, and we know Areola is more than capable of making a couple of saves as well. So, Everton, a team you would probably like to target if you want a clean sheet. Let's see what happens. Into defence, we've got Trippier, who is now a 7 million player. I can barely believe that. Quite insane, really. He's been a phenomenal signing for my FPL team, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can produce in the future. He's got Wolves up next, which is a very good fixture. Again, another great opportunity for a clean sheet, particularly when you're Newcastle, when you can keep a clean sheet against pretty much anyone at the moment. They're in super good form. Trippier is constantly creating, constantly picking up bonus points as well. So I think that his great form is going to continue in this game. Maybe against Arsenal, things might change a little bit. We might finally see a Trippier blank, but I don't think that's going to happen quite yet. Next up, Matty Cash. He plays against Luton Town, and this one is something I am very, very excited about because Luton, well, they're not great, are they? And they don't score too many goals, create too many chances either. They're kind of a defence-first team, and a home game for Aston Villa could be a big game for Aston Villa because we know about their home form. Cash is playing super advanced on that right-hand side, taking plenty of shots, and I do think that the creativity from the left-hand side coming across to Cash's side, we could see Cash on the end of a few more chances as we've seen this season. Cash is a 15-pointer waiting to happen. He really, really is. So I do expect that he will get some big points in the upcoming game weeks. We've got some nice fixtures for him. Clean sheets need to come first, though. I'm really hoping Aston Villa can turn around their defensive form. They only conceded 1 goal against a couple of teams recently, so maybe they're on like the peripheral of a clean sheet. I want to see it though, and I want to see Cash getting that goal involvement that he has been kind of toying with for quite some time now. But anyway, let's move on to our final defender, and that is going to be Udogie. Udogie plays against Crystal Palace away. That is the Friday fixture. Unfortunately, he did come off with tightness in his legs on the game on Monday, which means he's not like 100% available. He's not been spotted in any training videos or pictures this week, but he is set to train today and he's going to be assessed ahead of this Friday fixture. Now, because it's the early fixture, we could get early team news on him. So even though he's not guaranteed to start, we might get that information before the game week actually kicks off, which would be very, very useful to have because we do want to play Udogie. We might think about transferring him out if he's not available as well. But what I would say is that if he is available, I think this is a fixture which suits him very well. He has the pace to track back on those counter-attacks with Crystal Palace. And because Crystal Palace do, they like to play kind of in their own half a lot of the time, and teams are allowing to go up on them and, you know, like move their line forward. Spurs are likely to do that, and a doggy in and around, like, kind of just on the outside of the penalty box, a doggy's going to be quite crucial to kind of have that build-up play, that creativity in those areas. So he is a player that definitely suits this fixture, and Ange Postecoglou will want to play him if it's possible. It's just a case of whether he is going to be available with that muscle tightness. You don't want to aggravate it further because it's going to be a big season ahead for him. Let's move on into midfield, and we're going to go for Salah first of all against Nottingham Forest at home. I think this is an okay fixture. I think maybe it's not as good as a lot of people think that it is. You know, I've said this before. Nottingham Forest aren't actually that bad defensively. They're really not. They're not so bad. It is a home fixture for Salah, though, which is a big advantage. But it does seem like recently Salah has been depending on penalties a lot to get those mega scores. He's still going to score very well in any game week, but if you want to get a real haul from him, he's probably going to take a penalty in order to do that. He's managed to do that the last couple of game weeks, but is that going to happen again? Can we keep getting these penalties? Can we keep getting lucky like that as Salah owners? I'm not 100% convinced by that. I would love it, don't get me wrong, but maybe we are riding our luck a little bit with these hauls after hauls after hauls from Salah, and maybe he might just get back to his more kind of normal tick-along returns that we do expect from him from his open play contribution. So let's see what happens here, but it's definitely an interesting fixture that could go either way because it's not the perfect fixture. It's kind of a medium difficulty fixture, and we probably want to get a penalty, really. That's the dream for Salah owners, isn't it? Next up, Heung-min Son against Crystal Palace away. It's going to be a tough fixture. It's certainly not a fixture that suits Son, but Son's form has just been incredible. It really has. He is just doing it game after game at the moment, and it seems like compared to Salah, Son seems to be in really good open play form, and he always looks like scoring. He doesn't need those penalties, although it has to be said, a lot of people suggesting that it's going to be Son taking the penalties anyway. So if you add that to the mix, I think that could be pretty interesting. So Son, yes, he's not the perfect fixtures over the next couple of game weeks, but it's not the worst in the world, I guess. And with a player in this like insane form, you kind of back him against anyone, don't you? So Son, a player who I would be very much looking to keep, I think, but it really depends on what else I want in my team. And we've got Maddison up next. Again, difficult fixtures. I think these fixtures suit Maddison a little bit more than they suit Son, but I'm not sure if Maddison has the same insane form that Son does. Don't get me wrong, he's playing very well, but he is more of a creator in this team, and I don't expect him to get the mega hauls in the same way as Son is getting them. So creativity, set pieces, that's all going to be really, really good stuff from Maddison, and it could work out okay. He's certainly a solid pick for the upcoming game weeks. We've got Diaby up next, who has been disappointing recently, and I just don't understand how he has not got better underlying numbers, because his underlying numbers are actually dropping a little bit, and I feel like this is where the eye test comes in a little bit, because when you watch Aston Villa play and when you watch Diaby play and his positioning, he always looks really, really good. He's always in the right places at the right times. He's just not quite clicked for him, not quite come off for him, but against a team like Luton Town, that could very quickly change. That could very easily change, and he could definitely be a player to get a very strong, very decent score line, particularly if Aston Villa are able to run away with this game. I think Diaby could be pretty important. He's still playing very, very advanced. He's still kind of partnering Watkins in the forward positions. And yeah, it's just going to be about whether Diaby and Watkins can start combining a little bit more to get some more goal contributions there, like they did kind of in the Brighton game, where Diaby looked phenomenal in that thrilling victory for Villa. Can we see a similar thing happen against Luton? If so, well, we could see a much bigger score from Diaby as well. So definitely a player to be excited about, if nothing else. And we're going to finish off this midfield with Soucek. Disappointing game for him as my first week of owning him, but he's still putting up the best numbers of all of the super cheap enabler midfielders, and I do like the way he has freed up budget and allowed me to make a lot more moves. So I'm kind of glad I got him. Of course, it would have been nice to have the Palmer penalty, but I don't think you can depend on that every single game week. We've got some good fixtures. Soucek, once again, was playing behind the kind of forwards. He was kind of playing as a number 10 in those dangerous areas, taking, you know, as many shots as anyone else in his team, and he's obviously that aerial threat as well. So there are definitely a lot of avenues for Soucek to get attacking returns, as long as he continues to play in the 10, continues to start, doesn't get displaced by a player like Kudus or someone like that, because I would like to see Soucek get involved in goals in the upcoming game weeks, kind of to justify me bringing him in, even though he is cheap, even though I can't expect too much from him. It's nice when your differential does well. So against Everton, hopefully Soucek can be a big provider of FPL returns, but at 4.9 million, like I say, you can't expect too much from him. Moving up front, we've got Erling Haaland against Manchester United, and I have no idea how this one's going to go, but Haaland did just score a brace in the midweek Champions League game, and he also scored in Game Week 9 as well. So I think we can probably say that Haaland is back in his regular goal-scoring form that we all know and love. So can that continue against Manchester United? Well, it could do. Manchester United are in terrible form, and although it is a big derby match and you never fully know what's going to happen in a big game like this, you know, maybe Manchester United are just so bad that Man City just go there and absolutely destroy them. We know that the quality that Man City have in their team. Could Haaland be the player to score big once again, as he's done against Manchester United in the past? Well, I don't see why not. It could definitely happen. If not, there's always Bournemouth on the horizon, isn't there? And finally, Ollie Watkins, the player I picked up last game week, and I'm very, very glad I did. That is a headache I did not want to have long term, and now I've got Watkins against Luton. I feel very, very at peace right now. I feel very, very good about having him, and honestly, if I didn't have him, I would be terrified about not owning this player, but I do. It's a big fixture. We've got a player in insane form, outperforming his XG, finally getting the finishing a little bit more right than he has before. He's playing with confidence, he's playing more selfishly and actually taking those shots a lot of the time as well, rather than creating necessarily. So long may it continue, because we've got some decent fixtures on the horizon, and this Luton Town game is a phenomenal one. He's the form player of the Premier League right now, and he's got one of the best fixtures in the Premier League right now at home. So everything is lining up very, very nicely for Watkin owners. Let's go on to the bench. Turner, he plays against Liverpool away from home. Not going to start him ahead of Areola. We've got Taylor against Bournemouth. I guess he could be a backup for a doggy in a way, but do I really trust the Burnley defence away from home against Bournemouth, who are capable of scoring the odd goal? Not fully convinced by that one. Kabore is obviously against Aston Villa. We'll leave him on the bench, and we've got our enabler Mubama at 4.3 million. He's just going to stay on the bench every single game week. So with that said, we've got one transfer, 0.8 in the bank. We need to figure out what we are going to do with it. I think I'm probably going to make a transfer this week. What are my options? Well, first of all, a look at the players I would be willing to sacrifice this game week. There's a lot of players who I definitely want to keep, including like Salah, Haaland, Trippier has been an absolute star for me, and the triple Aston Villa players against Luton Town. This is something I planned for, and there's no way I'm going back on it now. So it just leaves me 4 players. Now, we've got Soucek in here just because he is an enabler anyway. He's not a player I feel a particular connection to. He's there to save budget, and if there are better options out there, I'd be more than willing to move to them. So Soucek, he's not necessarily a player I would want to sell, but he would be a player I'd be willing to sacrifice. And the other players I'd be willing to sacrifice are the Spurs players. Son, I'm not particularly convinced I want to sell him. I mean, let's be honest, he's in such good form. I kind of want him for the long term, but I do understand that by selling Son, it would free up a lot of budget to allow me to upgrade other areas in my team. And I think that's a decision a lot of people have right now with players like Son or Trippier, perhaps. Someone's got to be sacrificed in order to get everyone that you want. But really, do I want to sell Son? No, I don't. I just understand that there are some reasons why I could sell him. I would be willing to talk about selling him. Not really something I want to do, though. Maddison, similar situation, but Maddison, just because he's not in as good form as Son, I'd be more willing to sacrifice him in this team. I don't think Maddison would make my perfect 11 right now, and therefore he would be a player I could get rid of. Quite expensive at 8.1 million as well, so could use that budget quite wisely. So he's definitely a player who is on the chopping block for me. I don't think he's a must-sell. Once again, none of my players are must-sells, which I'm very, very glad about, but he would be potentially a luxury move to make. And we've got a doggy who we don't know if he's going to start or not, but more to the point, I don't know if he's going to start against Crystal Palace. That leaves me with Chelsea and Wolves. Chelsea definitely have a chance of scoring against Spurs. Wolves is more likely as a clean sheet. But after that, the fixtures turn pretty sour for Spurs defenders. They play a lot of teams that I think will score against Spurs, like such as Aston Villa. Aston Villa, I want to keep my Spurs attackers for Villa, but I wouldn't want to keep my Spurs defenders for Villa. They've got the likes of Man City after that as well. So some tough fixtures coming up for the Spurs defenders. A defence that isn't doing amazingly anyway. A doggy's not really putting up as much attacking numbers that I hope from him. So Doggy is definitely a player who I will be looking to sell in the near future if I don't sell him now. So another player who I would be most willing to sacrifice probably in this team if we're talking about just the players I want to remove. But we don't need to just talk about players removing. We've got to talk about players to bring in. So I'll show you my transfer targets. I've got no goalkeepers or forwards I'm particularly interested in right now. I like my forwards. I like my goalkeepers. I'm happy. So it's just defenders and midfielders where I'd be willing to target other players. We'll start off with defenders, and I've added stars this game week just to show my top picks, my top favourite players that I am targeting right now to go alongside some of the other guys. So Gabriel and Tsimikas are my defender picks right now. These are the two guys I want to have in my team. Which one to go for, I'm not sure, but I do feel like I trust Gabriel a little more than I trust Tsimikas at the moment. I like Gabriel for his aerial threat. I think that could come in clutch against Sheffield United, but Tsimikas obviously has better open play threat, and he's going to be taking corners as well. So definitely a lot of advantages to go for Tsimikas if he plays every game week, because I don't think he'll play every game week. And also, if he doesn't get subbed off early, because I always worry about that. Got Harry Maguire as a cheap player there as well. He seems to have nailed himself on in the Manchester United defence at the moment. Could be an interesting substitute, if nothing else, if I wanted to upgrade my bench. So that's the only reason he's on there. For midfielders, Saka. Yeah, I really want Saka in my team. There's no doubt about that. We've got some amazing fixtures. The Gabriel Jesus injury means that Saka is possibly going to be the star man in attack once more. I mean, he has been already, to be fair. He's putting up insane numbers. He's been in cracking form all season, doing absolute madness every single game week that he's been playing. You know, it's consistent returns, and he's got Sheffield United and Burnley in the next three. Really, really nice fixtures. So it's so obvious that Saka is a good pick right now. So obvious. So he is, yeah, my number one transfer target this week. There's no doubt about that. He's a player I want in my team. He's a player I can afford, and he's a player that I plan to get anyway. So after that, we've got Martinelli. Could be an interesting differential if I wanted to go slightly cheaper. Bowen is always on my radar, but I'm also looking at Mitoma at 6.5 million. I really like the Brighton run of fixtures, and Adingra at 5 million I like as well. So a Soucek to Adingra move could work out, but again, feels a little bit luxury to be messing around with your cheap players, your enabler players. The big points are probably going to be able to be gained elsewhere. So that leaves me with three possible transfer plans for this game week. The first one is to stick with the plan, and the plan was always Maddison to Saka. Now, have I let Maddison's goal in game week 9 affect my decision making? Well, I hoped that I wouldn't. You shouldn't really let results and outcomes affect your decision making, but you know, Maddison, he's doing okay. He's doing well. Spurs are doing well. Don't love the fixtures, but they're not horrendous, I guess. Saka is just a better pick, though, in my opinion. If I had to choose between one of Maddison and Saka, I'm choosing Saka every time. But there's a price difference here. I can only sell Maddison for 7.9 million. And also, I don't think there is a huge difference. I certainly think that Maddison is still a decent pick in this run of fixtures. He's still good. It's not like I need to get rid of him. So maybe that's a luxury move in a way. But I just really want Saka in my team right now. Option B is just to roll the transfer. Like, that's definitely an option as well. And of course, option C, transfer a defender. So if a doggy is not looking good, like I said, I'm leaning towards Gabriel at the moment, but I'm not adverse to Tsimikas. I don't really know which one is the better pick, to be honest, but a doggy, if he's not starting in game week 9, then that's going to have to be my priority, and maybe I keep Maddison and wait a couple of game weeks before getting Saka, wait till sort of game week 12 to get Saka when he plays against Burnley. I definitely need to make sure I have him in by that point. Like, that is an absolute must. But could I wait out this Sheffield United fixture, wait out the Newcastle fixture, and then go for him? That's definitely a possibility too. So, yeah, if a doggy is not starting, we get that early team news, which I hope I can bring to you in our deadline stream tomorrow. Well, this is probably the move to make. But, again, can't tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I want to wait for this crucial last-minute information before committing to any decisions. And, yeah, we'll see what happens on deadline stream, I guess. But for the sake of this video and just showing you what my hopes and dreams are, yeah, I would be hoping I can do Maddison to Saka. This is my dream move if everything else is absolutely fine and there's no other concerns whatsoever. And it just makes my team look, I mean, I don't want to gas it up too much, but this is amazing, right? We've got all of the big important players that we're all talking about right now. A lot of people are really struggling to fit in Trippier, Salah, Son, Haaland, and Watkins all in the same team. Like, it's really, really hard to get all 6 of those players. Trippier, Salah, Son, Saka, Haaland, and Watkins. Like, it's like the stuff of dreams. They're the big players, and whatever player you don't have is going to be the player you fear every single game week. And I have this opportunity to not have to fear any of them, to have all of them. And all it really means is taking Soucek in midfield, which honestly, I don't really mind doing that. But if a doggy's injured, yeah, I don't have that opportunity, unfortunately. But it would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, I look at this team and I think, wow, it's almost as if I wildcarded this game week, right? But with a much better team value. Like, this team looks to me amazing. It's perfect. It's exactly what I want right now, other than, you know, maybe I'd switch out a doggy if I had a luxury additional transfer to use, I guess. So, yeah, would I do a doggy and Saka, but make both of those moves, a doggy out and Maddison out in the same week for a -4? Absolutely not. Don't think that's worth it over the next 2 game weeks, but yeah, decisions to make. We'll find out tomorrow. A quick look at the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool to see how my team looks on here, and it's a 95% rated team, so very, very good there. It's definitely a strong team already, so I don't feel like I need to make any changes. The players that the AI doesn't really rate are Doggy and Sosiek, but that's not too surprising. They're like my cheapest players in my team, so I can't be too surprised about that one, to be fair. When we look at the 4 game week predictions of the kind of players that look like they're going to score the most points in the upcoming weeks, we have got Saka here coming in at number 4. So even though Maddison and Saka's predicted points aren't too far from each other's, Saka just has the edge here, and he is the scariest player I don't own, according to the AI. And I do tend to agree with that one as well. I think that's pretty accurate. Of course, players like Mitoma are also in this mix as well as players that could do pretty well. So a Maddison to Saka move could work out. But I do want to see what the AI transfer suggests based on the underlying numbers. Okay, so the AI is recommending that I do the Udogie to Tsimikas move. Even if Udogie is available, it still seems like Tsimikas is going to outscore him. So maybe that is the play. His expected numbers are really, really good. So yeah, that kind of gives me more confidence if I do need to make a transfer for Udogie, that maybe this is the play. Maybe Tsimikas is the play ahead of Gabriel. But I'd be interested to see what their comparative scores are like who is predicted to score more points. So on the right-hand side, I have ordered defenders by 4 game week predictions, and yeah, we can see Tsimikas is way ahead of Gabriel. Tsimikas 20 predicted points over the next 4 game weeks, averaging 5 points per game week, and Gabriel is expected to average 4 points per game week, 16 points total in that period. So yeah, it does look like the numbers are saying go for Tsimikas. I just feel like Tsimikas is a little bit riskier. I'm not sure if I'm willing to do that, but he's certainly an interesting pick, and I like them both. I don't know which way to go. Maybe I just trust the AI on this one to make the decision for me, to be honest. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's how my team's looking in this. Like, if we did go for Saka, it would make the team look a little bit better. If we removed in Tsimikas for a doggy, the team arguably looks even better than that. So real decisions to be made right now. But yeah, if you want to check out this tool, plan out your team, make transfers, look at predicted points, then the link is at the top of the description. It's really useful as a tool to help you get some ideas of what kind of transfers you can make. Won't make your decisions for you, but it's really good for generating those ideas so you don't have to do too much research of your own. It kind of does it for you. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, please do drop a like. Make sure you are subscribed. Double check to make sure you're subscribed. We really want to get to 200,000 subscribers, don't we? We really do. Tomorrow, we are going to try and do a press conference roundup video, but I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that because it's going to all be very, very last minute with a Friday deadline. But we will, of course, do a deadline stream no matter what. So hopefully see a few of you guys there. But aside from that, make sure you check out some of the other videos we've uploaded for Game Week 10. Make sure you check out Fantasy Football Hub in the description. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.